All right, so in this lesson, I'm going to show you different ways that you can draw your gesture drawings because it's not one particular way to draw it. You can draw it with basic shapes like more like this here, or you can draw it with just opposite C's. So it really just captures the essence. I really like this style. It's really, really quick, and then you can always add more detail later. And then there's another one where you can use like scribbly lines and things like that. So there's no right or wrong way to capture the gesture. That is how you draw the gesture. But what you're not trying to do, again, is trying to draw the actual pose you're looking at. You're not trying to draw anatomy. You're not trying to draw what you're looking at. You're not trying to make it accurate. This should come with practice. Like when you have proportions and things like that, that should come from other courses and other practices on drawing the human figure. Basic shapes, I like using, just triangles sometimes for legs and triangles for arms. It's a very quick way to get the essence of the image that you're trying to get. You can also use curved lines. You can just do an arm like this and then have the hand. The main thing that you're trying to do is capture the pose, right? The essence of that pose. So we'll go through those different ways with this pose here, as I've already done some of them. Before we do that, though, I just want to show some examples that I did here of different poses. Again, I'm going to be using images from my Gesture Master software, which you can find on Google Play. It's only for Android devices, but it'll play on almost any Android device, so a phone, a tablet, so forth. But again, it's not necessary. You don't have to have it because I'm going to be showing the images themselves that you can look at. So here's like a baseball. Here's a cool, like almost like a 2-meter type pose. And notice with different ones of these, I use different techniques. Some of them I use more basic shapes. Some of them I kind of use more flowy lines. I actually did that in 90 seconds, or maybe, yeah, I think that was a 90-second one. As we already discussed here, using those opposite curves there. Here I use more basic shapes, but, I kind of added a little bit of detail in there because I had extra time. So I had finished the main idea of the pose, and then I was like, okay, the gesture's there. I'm going to go ahead and take my remaining time and kind of add just a little bit of anatomy and stuff. This one here, I didn't have much time left. I think this was a 30-second pose. This lets you do 30 seconds, 90 seconds, and infinite, where you can practice pose or gesture drawing. This one here, I added a lot of extra time. I think I did infinite time on that one. And this one I really like a lot. This pose is really cool, and I kind of turned it into sort of a creature, some sort of like vampire type demon creature or something. Right, so let's go ahead and get started then with the different ways in which we can draw a pose. And we'll do that with this pose here. This is just, some people ask me what's the best drawing materials and things like that to use. I'll make a separate video for that, but I just use throwaway cheap paper from Walmart, a pad from Walmart. Right, so the first one I like to do is like the basic shape. So it's kind of, sometimes if with a pose, I'll like try to capture, this is more like a straight up and down line, like the main pose is like this straight up and down line. However, I see there's this nice S curve here in the arm structure, so I want to capture that. Sometimes there are gesture lines within a pose, and this is one of them. So I like this gesture line right here, and it kind of comes down like this. That's like this kind of cool flowy line. I want to capture that in my pose. Next thing I like to do, this one will be using the technique where I kind of use basic shapes in order to accomplish this. So I'm going to use this a triangle here, and then basic shape to capture the hand. Basic shape oval to capture the head. I'm going to use maybe a round shape here to come down to an arm, and then an arm. Remember, the point is to be very quick. You're just trying to capture the essence of the movement. And by forcing yourself to be quick, it makes it to where you don't have to think much about what you're looking at, and that forces you to be fast with what you're doing. Now, I really want to show, there is like, if you look at the overall, there's different ways. You can see a C here, so there can be a C, that could be the main gesture is that C. You can also see the main gesture maybe being an S coming from here and then coming down like that. So it's kind of like an S that comes up like that to the arms. So there's different ways you can view the ultimate pose and how you want to look at it. I like the S here, so that's going to be the main thing I'm going to focus on with this pose here. So this leg in the background isn't really my focus. My focus is on this leg here. I'm going to use basic shapes again Then I'll show you how to do it with when you want to do the technique where you use more flowy lines like opposite C's. Kind of messed up on what I wanted there. Right, so that's just the basic shape. You can do a ball here if you want to. Again, you're trying to capture the essence quickly. I really want to, capture that bend in the hip there. I like that. I can also, if I don't like how it is, I can put the hand where I want it ahead of time. Okay, that's where I want the hand. Then I can redraw where I want the arm like that. So you can kind of change things around as you go and make the chest a little bit lower. Next is the leg down here. Now you'll see when I use these techniques when we're drawing very quickly, when we're doing 90-second gesture drawings and 60-second gesture drawings. If you had time left over in whatever practice mode you were in, because you want to do many of these a day, and that's how you get better. So if I were to do the 90-second, I had time left over, I might come in and just add just a little bit of anatomy, just to kind of remind myself of the important parts of the image that I really liked. Again, using that kind of S curve, because I think that's, to me, I like that. That's like the main, but if this wants to be tall to short, like that, that's the S curve I see representing the pose. So it comes through this arm right here, comes down through this leg here. So it's a tight bound up and then more loose, and it kind of comes up like that to the hand, but I'm not worried about that. The main curve is right there. That's the main thing I see within that pose. Everyone might see something different. Someone might just see the curve, like a C curve in there. That's fine. Whatever you see, just use those basic shapes. That straight line, a curve, or an S. And the S can be like this. It can be bound up and like that. I mean, there's all different ways an S can be. A C can be, really bound up. It can be really bound up. It can be not bound up hardly at all, and so forth. All right, let's go ahead and draw this in here. I'm going to draw a straight line down, and then I'm going to just do basic shapes here. So for the face, I'm just going to kind of have a shape like that. I might have the hair in basic shapes. And notice I'm not trying to do exactly what I see. I like to often, when I do the opposite C's, is sometimes focus on the outer elbow where I want the elbow at, and kind of focus on that line right there, and that becomes one line. Then I'll obviously do the opposite side of the arm, so I want to do the inside of the arm now since I started with the outside of the arm. And then the hand, I like to usually just kind of do the basic shape of what the hand makes, like that. This is using the technique of using opposite lines. I like to really capture that shoulder, so to capture that shoulder, I need that to be part of my line, and that's going to capture the outside of the arm here. I often like to know, like when the arm is touching the body, I like it to actually touch the body where I want it to before I begin drawing it. I'm going to kind of just do basic shapes there for the breast. I really want to capture this line here though to the buttock like that. So don't know, it's basic lines. So the basic lines you're using is what's known as opposite C's like that. Those are the kind of lines you're using to capture arms and legs and things like that. And also curved lines, to capture waist. Then I might use a straight line here like that. So it's kind of like this. I'm using a straight line and a curved line. So I'm using these three lines to do my gesture drawing throughout. Because I captured the outside of this arm now, I want to capture the inside of the arm. I like to put the hand, like I said, sometimes on my figure ahead of time and go, okay, that's the space the hand's going to take, and that way I can connect the arm to that. I should have actually probably done that first. Now, I probably wouldn't have enough time to erase if I was doing a 90-second thing here. Maybe I would. Now, I know now how far out I want that arm to go, so now I can take my opposite lines here and bring them in like that. So now you can see how these lines are starting to capture. Notice that S curve is still there, and it's kind of capturing part of the gesture itself for me. I'm going to use this outer line here. I like the outer line for the knee for this particular gesture, and I like using the inside. Oftentimes I like using the outer line for the leg to capture the knee, and the inside line, remember we're doing opposite C's, and this inside opposite C to capture the calf, and I don't want the foot to be somewhere around here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the foot in there now, and then match it up. So for me, sometimes matching up lines works good. Sometimes I'll use if it's a straight leg like here, I'll use the outer line here, and that way I can capture the knee. I like capturing the knee with my lines, so that's why I do that. So I try to focus on, how does the leg look? I take a quick look at it. One of my lines I want to be the knee, so that becomes the outer one. That for this one becomes the inner one. It's a simple logic I work out very quickly. So this is another technique you can use to capture gestures. Now from this, I have enough information that even if the person is no longer visible to me and they're gone, I now have a way to draw in, like using anatomy and things like that. So now I can go ahead and start to, add in anatomy. I'm trying not to look at the image over here. I'm just trying to go, okay, so if I had some anatomy and, basic shapes, just at least filled in with basic shapes. And then the breast is, off here a little bit. So I need it to be more like this and then come down like that. I'm going to have the rib cage here, come down to the butt, kind of make that thinner. And as you do this, you can adding just a little bit of detail to the image. You can see that I start to add a little bit of basic shape to it. Then from there, I can take this and turn it into a full drawing. And that'll be another lesson where I show you how you can take your gesture drawings and bring them into a full drawing to where you can add the anatomy and stuff like that. Now you can either do that from the reference photo, or you can do it from your imagination. And also you can do gesture drawings from imagination. We'll get into that too, to where if you're trying to work quickly and you're trying to capture a cool image in your mind, you kind of see this image in your mind, you want to capture that on paper. I'll show you guys how to do that. It's really the same idea. As it's you're, instead of looking at an actual image, you're imagining the pose in your mind, and you're doing a few quick gesture drawings to capture that motion, and then you can go over it. Now there is other techniques to do gesture drawing, and some of them are just trying to fill out the motion. So let's say they want to really fill out this motion right here. They want to capture this arm right here, and they have the idea of the head, and they're kind of like just never moving their hand off of the paper, and they're kind of like almost like scribbling around, trying to feel out the power and the image of the pose. And then I want to kind of really pull that there, and I want the hand to be across right here. And they're just kind of, it's sometimes it's really sloppy looking, but in the end they accomplish the same thing. And that is, I'm trying not to lift the pencil at all here, and they can still do it quickly if you get good at it. I captured the essence of the movement very quickly like that. So that's another one. Like basically you don't even lift your pencil, you're just kind of scribbling around. So whatever works for you, there's these 3 different techniques. There's other techniques as well. Whatever technique works for you, go ahead and use that. Even if it's using very primitive shapes like this, where you're just doing triangles and diamonds and things like that and circles to capture the essence of it. The important thing is that you do it quickly. You don't want to spend a lot of time trying to capture the movement. And what's really good about doing 90-second or 30 seconds, when you get better, you can go down to 30 seconds. You might want to start with 90 though. And what happens, well, first you might want to start with infinite time, but try to do it quickly and capture it. What's really good about timed limits is it really focuses you in your mind to stop thinking about what you're looking at. Stop trying to draw what you're looking at. Rely upon your knowledge of proportion of the figure, your knowledge of the figure, and capture the movement itself. Focus on one curve, one line, whether it's S curve, C curve, or line for the main focus of the pose, and then the other limbs are just added onto that. This limb right here is just added onto the main thing I focus on was this S curve right here, and you can see it in the pose. And then that little S curve that comes off of there, and the straight line that comes down, and this little opposite C curve are just part of that main thing. So I try to find the main focus, the main gesture line within the pose. All right, so this is how to find the main gesture line, and then use different techniques to draw the gesture drawing. Whatever technique works for you, that's fine. The gesture drawing is not something that anyone's ever really going to see unless you just want like a sketchbook full of gesture drawings. In that case, maybe after you capture the essence of the gesture, you can go back over it again and just really focus on whatever style you want, and then like trace over it, make it look really, really nice, just to have a good collection of really nice looking gesture drawings. All right, so that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next one. But the next one will be FaceTime of me showing you what exercises I want you to do before you move on. All right, thank you for watching.